It's Mickey TV. And this is my Minnesota Vikings 2018 season, week number 8, game number 8, game analysis and review of the Minnesota Vikings game against New Orleans Saints at US Bank Stadium. That was played on, I believe, Sunday, October 28, 2018. And in that game, the Minnesota Vikings, as I predicted, would lose to the New Orleans Saints. And in this game, the Vikings lost to the Saints by a score of 30-20. Now, if I would have told you that in this game that, let's say, Kirk Cousins threw for 359 yards passing, was 31 out of 41, with 2 TDs and albeit an interception. And Stephon Diggs had 10 catches for 119 yards and a TD. Adam Thielen, 7 catches for 103 yards and a TD. You know, halfway decent rushing game in which Latavius Murray gets like 56 yards rushing and a TD. And not only that, but the defense limiting Drew Brees to 120 yards passing. And like one of their wide receivers or running backs also had a pass for 44 yards passing. But for a total yards of 164 yards passing in the game and only giving up 106 yards rushing. You would think with stats like this, the Minnesota Vikings would have won the game. Unfortunately, they didn't. And you know why? Turnovers. Turnovers was the big key in this game. And the one big turnover in the game that was a big, huge turning point was basically Kirk Cousins throwing an interception that was right to the defender, and he had a good jump on the ball and ran it in for a touchdown, and that pretty much sealed the Vikings' fate. And after that, it was all over. And the Vikings really couldn't catch up. Basically, the Saints pretty much ran the timeout on the ball. Their defense did a pretty good job. In fact, their defense had 4 sacks. This is up against the Vikings' offensive line, which is having problems this season. Still not much of an improvement, but the New Orleans Saints got 4 sacks on the offensive line against the offensive line of the Vikings. 5 tackles for losses, 6 passes defended, 9 QB hits, and they scored a touchdown on that interception. Plus, they forced the fumble off of Adam Thielen as well, which is not good. Turnovers will kill, and turnovers will mar star players' careers. And this is one of those games where they were playing against a great team, and this is an example of what happens when a maybe good team, and I don't know if the Vikings are a good team, but let's say they are a good team, but this is an example of a good team not going to be able to beat a great team like the Saints, especially when, I mean, if Mr. Mike Zimmer believes in playing close games, because this guy rarely, Mike Zimmer, ever like plays to win. He plays not to lose. He doesn't have a killer instinct. But if he's going to play these games where every game's going to be a close game, then turnovers and mistakes like these should not be made in a game at all against any team. If you want to be a great team and if you want to win these close games, then you have to keep turnovers at a 0. 0 mistakes on turnovers if you want to beat a great team. But mistakes like this, is going to get you defeated in the playoffs. If you make it to the playoffs, I don't even know if the Vikings are going to make it to the playoffs. I'm going to have to do a midseason review within the next week or so, but this is a prime example of how playing not to lose is going to bite you in the ass. And it comes down to the head coach in this game. Granted, the players were responsible for the turnovers, but the coach has to work with the players on keeping turnovers to a minimum. Plus, the coaches need to work on his special teams. Again, Dan Bailey, our kicker, missed an extra point in this game. He was 2 of 3 on extra points. Didn't have any opportunity to kick any field goals. But these are the things that are going to kill this team. And the Vikings might, limp into the playoffs and get a wild card spot or something. But they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it at all in the playoffs. If they make it in the playoffs, they'll lose that first game because they're not this good and they're not well coached. They're not even, I don't know, good enough to be, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I just know that the coaching staff or the coach on this team sucks. I really don't think he has the killer instinct to lead this team to the Super Bowl and win it, much less make it to the playoffs this year. It's just all about playing not to lose, and that's what's going to bite this guy in the ass. That's what's going to bite this team in the ass. Like I predicted in this game, the Saints would win. What surprised me was that the Saints offense wasn't, when you look at the stats, it wasn't anything that was typical Saints football, where Drew Brees will throw 300 yards passing, get 3 TD passes or whatever, and the Saints just clobber their opponent. I thought that's what would happen this game. It was basically turnovers helping the Saints. That's basically what happened in this game. They got 2 of their touchdowns, I think, from the offense and 1 from their defense, and then they got some field goals. But this is a prime example of what happens when you play not to lose. You wind up losing to great teams like the Saints. The Saints are for real still. Even though they didn't put up great numbers in this game, their defense did great to stop the Vikings. And it goes to prove you that if the offense has an off game on the Saints, they can fall back on their defense to help them win the game. So the Saints are for real. We'll watch them in the playoffs. I think the Saints and the Rams are going to be like the teams to beat in the NFC. So that's my opinion. That's about it for my Vikings report. Nothing great to report about in this game. Like I predicted, they would lose, and they lost on mistakes that could have been avoided. And that's why this is not a great football team. I don't even know if they're even a good football team. Maybe average, but that's about it for now. I will talk to you guys later. Skol Vikings!